"Oh, thank you so much. You really saved me." "No problem at all." "No way, that's impossible. I'm currently being thanked by the chairman named Mike of a client company. My boss, CEO named Davis, was stunned to see this. My name is Jack Anderson, a 35-year-old man. I work as a sales employee for a mid-sized food company in New York City. It's not like I entered this company wanting to do sales, but I had to find work no matter what, so I joined this company. I had previously been laid off from my old company and somehow managed to find a job here after a tough job search. The job description said no experience required, that everyone is welcome, and that the CEO will kindly teach you the job himself. I desperately needed to find any job and start working, so I joined this company. After joining, I realized that this company was this is a toxic workplace. They said no experience was okay, so I thought they would kindly teach me even without experience, but they actually gave a strict education. On the day I joined, Davis handed me several thick booklets and said, "Hammer this into your head." There were 20 booklets in total. They seemed to be materials used for sales, and when he told me to memorize this amount in 3 days, I felt despair. Not to brag, but I'm hopelessly stupid. I mean, I failed high school and barely graduated middle school. I have a studying allergy, and if I read even a little bit, I start getting headaches and stomach aches. I'm so dumb and I don't like studying at all. I think there might not be anyone as stupid as me anywhere in America. Anyway, I tried to hammer the contents of the materials into my head, but because I'm an idiot, I had no clue what was written. That day I got a terrible headache, and after going home I actually got a fever. Maybe this was because I was studying too much. Anyway, I felt awful and had no motivation to do anything, so I just played smartphone games in bed. The fact that I can still play games even with a fever shows I'm a real idiot. Then I started going around to clients as a salesman, but since I hadn't received proper training, there were so many things I didn't understand, and I couldn't give good answers to the people in charge. So I haven't been able to get contracts like I hoped. Davis saw my performance and made snide remarks, but I thought if that's the case, at least assign me a training manager. The job description said the CEO would kindly teach you, but there was absolutely none of that. I started to feel like I had been tricked when I realized that was a lie. Seems like you only got one contract again recently. Geez, what are you doing to end up like that? You're not slacking off and sleeping somewhere, are you? Absolutely not. I'm properly going around to clients, but it's hard to get them to listen. Enough with the excuses. You're really useless. Why did I even hire someone like you? These days the conditions for firing are so strict, it's ridiculous. To hell with workers' rights. I thought, you're the one who hired me, so take some responsibility. I'm doing my best as a fool. I hammered those materials into my head while having a fever, and I'm going around doing sales based on what I saw. I wanted to say the conditions were not as promised and quit, but there's no guarantee I'll find somewhere else that will hire an idiot like me again. So I reluctantly kept working at this company. The pay isn't even good, but I don't have any other qualifications or skills, so I have no choice but to work here. If the treatment was even a bit better, I might feel more motivated, but Davis only pays me $1,500 a month because I didn't graduate high school. $1,500 a month in New York is quite impoverished. After deducting taxes and social insurance premiums from that, it's barely better than welfare. No, I thought welfare might actually be better. Why am I living like this? I thought it's all because I'm an idiot who never properly tried until now, so I was prepared to work at this company forever. I was nervous since the morning because there was a meeting that day. All the executives were going to participate in this meeting, and I was tasked with giving a presentation, so I felt like throwing up. I thought I should eat something, but I had no appetite at all. Coffee seemed bad for my stomach, so I warmed up some milk and drank it. Then I got ready and headed to the company. The commute to the company is first walking from my apartment to the station. Then I take the train, transfer, and walk from the station closest to the company. It takes about an hour in total, but I live in this apartment because the rent is cheap. I can afford to live near the company where the rent is high. I walked to the station and got on the train. Then I got off halfway to transfer. There, I spotted an old man who looked like he had collapsed. He wasn't carrying any luggage, and his appearance was dirty like a homeless person. His coat was dirty all over, and as for his shoes, one was missing and nowhere to be found. Everyone was walking while avoiding the old man, but somehow I couldn't just leave him. So I rushed over to him, thinking I'd ask what happened. Is something wrong? Are you okay? Yes. I'm fine. Thank you for asking me. That's good then. But why are you in a place like this? I collapsed because I was hungry. No, you can't say you're fine then. I'm sorry. The old man said he was fine at first, but when I asked, he said he had collapsed from hunger. That's not fine at all. Anyway, I thought I'd have him eat something. There weren't many stores open since it was still morning, but the chain restaurant, Subway, was open. So I took the old man to Subway and told him he could order whatever he wanted. I'm sorry, it's just a chain restaurant, but please feel free to order anything you want to eat. I'll pay for it. What? No, I can't do that. I'm sorry. I don't need anything. Just some water would be fine. No, it's okay. This is all I can do. Please eat plenty. Thank you so much. Thank you. You're such a kind person. Hey, don't cry. You're making it seem like I made you cry. I'm sorry. I just never thought someone would be so kind to me. The old man ordered a sandwich and ice cream for dessert. It was quite a lot of food, but I was surprised he ate it all up. He's a rather small old man, but he sure can pack it in. It's been a while since I ate such a delicious meal, and the ice cream was really tasty too. You saved my life. May I ask your name? Yes, my name is Jack Anderson. Well, I don't think there's much point in remembering my name though. No, that's not true. We might meet again somewhere, and when that happens, I'd like to thank you properly. Is that so? That would make me happy. Then, may I ask your name too? Yes, my name is Theodore Smith. Theodore, it'd be great if we could meet again. Look at the time. What's the matter? I'm late for work, and I had an important meeting today too. I was supposed to give a presentation. Oh no, so because of me, this happened. Well, if I say I was helping someone, I'm sure it'll work out somehow. I don't think my boss is heartless enough to get angry over this. Then Theodore and I left the restaurant and parted ways. I thought it would work out if I told my boss I was helping someone, but I was anxious and my heart was pounding. I thought, knowing that boss, he might yell at me after all, and I arrived at the company. The meeting had already started long ago, and everyone seemed to be in the conference room. I entered timidly, but everyone ignored me. They must think I have no common sense, being this late to such an important meeting. I felt like I didn't want to be there, and I shrank back. I didn't say anything during the meeting, but that's because everyone was ignoring me, and also because the boss skipped my presentation. I thought I had made a huge mistake and felt like crying. At that time, the boss approached me and patted me on the shoulder. Oh, you are fired. What? Wait a second. No way. Please wait. You can't suddenly fire me. I was late because I was helping someone. So please don't say that. Enough of that. I don't want to hear such excuses. I don't intend to make excuses, but I was helping someone, okay? I helped an old man who had collapsed. Jeez. You keep spouting such nonsense. There's no way an old man would conveniently collapse for your excuses. And even if it were true, you should have just left that old man. I can't just leave him, because if I had left him, he might have starved to death by now. That old man was already dying anyway, so you should have just left him. You're really an idiot. Helping someone like that doesn't benefit you at all. But the boss wouldn't listen to me at all. I thought if I explained that I was helping someone, I would be forgiven for being late. But I was a fool for expecting that from this boss. I felt utterly unlucky and dropped my shoulders dejectedly. I'll process your termination later, so come to my office in 5 minutes. Yes. Pooh you. Your life fell apart because of that old man. Well, your life was already in shambles though. The boss said that snidely, looking satisfied. Why is this person so mean? I wondered what I did and held my head for a while. Then 5 minutes passed, so I decided to go to Davis's office. The chairman named Mike of our client company, B Corp, was there. I'm sorry. I called this guy here to fire him. I'll finish the procedures right away, so please wait a bit. This guy is a huge idiot who was late, saying he helped some old geezer with 1 foot in the grave. What? You are firing him? You are firing Jack? Yes. Not only was he late to the important meeting this morning, he made excuses saying he was helping someone. Something about an old man who had collapsed or whatever. Let me get straight to the point. But the old man, named Fyodor, is my father, you know. What? The boss let out an astounded voice, clearly very surprised. Mike continued. Well, he's not my biological father, but he raised me. The old man named Fyodor Smith is my foster father. What? Fyodor is your foster father? Yeah. I was put into an institution for reasons. When I was still a baby. Seems my unmarried mother got pregnant but thought she couldn't raise me alone. So I was put in an institution as a baby, but later I became a foster child of Fyodor's family. It turned out the old man, Fyodor, was none other than Mike's foster father. The foster care system, unlike special adoption, doesn't legally sever ties with the biological parents, so the last names are different. The foster care system is simply temporarily taking care of a child. Fyodor apparently loved children, and while he had biological children, he had seen many underprivileged children. He was an amazing person who had been involved with many children as a foster parent. But why was such a person collapsed on the street? I asked what happened and found out that Fyodor had early-stage dementia. I couldn't tell he had dementia when I was talking to him, but apparently he would wander off somewhere or say strange things in conversations. Fyodor had gone missing 2 days ago, and they had already reported it to the police. Fyodor lives with his biological daughter Olivia and his wife, but one day he said he was going out and left. Fyodor had taken care of 16 foster children throughout his time as a foster parent, and he had 2 biological children and raised them all without discrimination. But at one point one of his biological children drowned in a river and passed away. That day was the anniversary of his death. The name of the child who passed away was Brian. When Brian drowned, his biological daughter, Olivia, and 5 foster children were there. Everyone tried to save Brian, but the river current was fast, and Fyodor thought it was dangerous, so he instructed the children to evacuate to the shore. Then he jumped into the river alone to try to save Brian, but it was too late. Brian had stopped breathing and his lips were blue, in a cyanotic state. Brian, answer me. If you can't, squeeze my hand. Faced with the unmoving Brian, Fyodor's head was in chaos. And somehow his wife called an ambulance, but at the hospital it was soon confirmed that Brian had passed away. It seems that day, Fyodor blamed himself for taking everyone to play by the river, but neither his biological daughter Olivia or the foster children blamed Fyodor, because Fyodor had suggested a barbecue by the river, thinking to make even a little good summer memory for them. I was there at the river that time too. I can still vividly remember the sight of Brian lying limp. Since then, my father became a bit depressed. Well, that's natural since he lost a child, right? Is that so? Then last year, one of the former foster children passed away from cancer. She was only in her 40s. My father cried in front of his picture, asking why the children were going before him. That must have been so painful. Since then, he started acting strange. Not only was my father depressed, his words and actions became inconsistent. When Fyodor's biological daughter, Olivia, took him to the hospital, it was revealed to be early-stage dementia. I've heard that when painful things pile up, dementia can progress more easily. But I realized it actually happens. Fyodor's heart must have broken from his children passing before him. I thought Fyodor was someone who had really been through a lot. Thank you for helping my father like that. My mother, Olivia, the other former foster children, everyone was worried about him. No, I just fed him a meal. That's more than enough. It seems my father remembered to go home after eating the ice cream for dessert. Huh? Why did he remember to go home from ice cream? There's an old-fashioned candy store near our house that sells ice cream. Brian used to love the ice cream there. Apparently the flavor was similar to the ice cream he ate at Subway. I see. It seems my father remembered the direction of home after eating ice cream for the first time in a while, and was able to get back on his own. This surprised my mother, Olivia, and me. Is that so? It seemed Theodore was confused about whether Brian was still alive or not. He probably thinks Brian is hiding somewhere and might come back someday. I am sure he thinks so. He left without anything, so he didn't have his wallet or smartphone, but I was glad he somehow made it home on his own. But what are the police doing? I can't help but think they should search harder and protect him. Mike then looked at Davis and glared at him harshly. He seemed quite angry. You said earlier you were going to fire Jack, but do you think it's okay to fire someone just for being late because they were helping someone? Well, that's, And you even went so far as to say such rude things like having one foot in the grave. That was just a figure of speech. Of course I wouldn't seriously think that. I wouldn't think such a rude thing about Theodore. No, the fact that you could say that means you actually think that, right? I'm disappointed in you. We were planning to make a $100 million deal with your company, but I can't associate with a company with such a lack of morals. So let's cancel the contract. Wait a second. You can't do that. If that contract falls through, our company's future prospects will. I'm perfectly fine not associating with your company, so you can find a new client on your own. Well then, I'll be going. If you're going to fire Jack, can I hire him? Since you're planning to let him go anyway, you don't care what I do with him, right? Well, I suppose. But, so with that, Jack, would you like to work at our company from now on? Of course, we'll pay you handsomely. I think a kind-hearted person like you can do sales that resonates with people's hearts. So please come to our company. What? Is that okay? Even someone like me. I don't have the educational background and I'm not confident. Education is just a measure, and it only looks at one aspect of a person. Being educated doesn't mean you're an upstanding person. In fact, you helped an elderly person in need. Just that makes you a truly admirable person. Mike, I would like to work with you. Hey, Jack, you think you can just do whatever you want? Davis, Jack is now an employee of our company, so please don't yell at him. Now then, let's go to our office. Yes. And so I became an employee of Company B. When Davis said he was going to fire me, I thought my life was over. But when God blesses me, he opens a window. I was thrown away by Davis, but I felt elated to be picked up by Mike. Until now, I was being used like a slave at Company A for a monthly salary of $1,500, but amazingly at Company B, I was able to get a monthly salary of $3,200. Simply being able to get more than double, my life became much more affluent. There's been a recession lately, and prices keep rising. So frankly, $1,500 was barely getting by, and it wouldn't have been surprising if my health failed any time. That time, I treated Theodore to a meal at Subway, but I don't usually eat out. I feel chain restaurants are expensive too, so I can't go in. But I wanted Theodore to eat his fill, so I used up the $50 in my wallet, intending to let him eat whatever he wanted. I'm normally a stingy, poor man who spends $50 over 10 days, but for him I didn't think money was an object. I just thought he was a homeless man, so I thought I'd feed him there and that would be the end of it. But to think he was actually Mike's foster father. You never know what might happen. Since Theodore's already elderly, it seems he's retired from being a foster parent, but apparently his former foster children still come to see Theodore. He only remembers the children and can tell who's who. Still, it seems Theodore hasn't accepted that Brian passed away and that Brianna, one of the foster children, passed away. Unlike Brianna, who passed from cancer, Brian died in an accident, so maybe he hasn't shorted out his feelings. After joining Company B, I was invited to a barbecue party at Chairman Williams' house. A lot of people came. Mike's house is an incredible mansion, so spacious that even a few dozen people can come with no problem. I was enjoying myself, drinking cocktails and being fed meat. Then, Mike came over with someone. That person was none other than Theodore, the man I had helped. Dad, look, it's Jack who helped you. Who was it again? Sorry, I can't remember. Remember, he fed you at Subway. Do you know? Subway. Where was that again? It seemed Theodore's dementia had progressed a bit more since then. Even seeing me and being told about Subway, he didn't seem to understand and looked confused. It's okay if you don't remember. I've met you before, Theodore. Is that so? I'm sorry. My memory has gotten bad lately. Well, that happens sometimes. I'm so scatterbrained, I immediately forget where I put things. You're like Brian. Brian was always saying he didn't have an eraser or ruler, or that he forgot his lunch. Brian. Where is Brian? What isn't Brian here? Dad, Brian is already. Where did Brian go? He hasn't come home at all. Is Brian still at school? Dad, you're a bit tired, aren't you? Let's go rest over there. Theodore, are you okay? Sometimes he gets confused like this. But it's okay. He'll calm down soon. It seems lately Theodore sometimes gets confused when he's anxious. Somehow, I've started to feel like Theodore isn't a stranger anymore. What can be done so Theodore can spend his days with peace of mind? But there's no way I can help him. I'm not a caregiver or psychiatrist. I can't save his heart. Mike had Theodore drink some tea and calmed him down a bit. Theodore's eyes looked gentler than before, as if he had returned to normal. This time, he told me about Brianna, who passed away from cancer. Brianna was one of the former foster children and apparently came to Theodore's family when she was little. Her dream was to become a nurse, so they sent her to nursing school. But tragically she herself got uterine disease and became unable to have children. At the time, it was still believed that giving birth was a woman's happiness. So when the man Brianna was dating found out she couldn't have children, he abandoned her. After that, Brianna decided to live single. As a nurse, she had a skill, and she wouldn't starve being single. But then cancer was found in her ovaries, and she had to get tested. The test results showed the cancer had progressed, and she was given at most 1 year to live. Brianna was only 41 at the time. Theodore thought he was losing another child, and his depression worsened. And after Brianna passed away from cancer, his depression got worse and he developed dementia. I don't think there's any good in me living. Everyone became unhappy because I raised them. That's not true. Look, everyone here seems happy, right? Mike, who you raised, became a company CEO and is doing great. But, it's painful to lose any more children. Theodore, when I see Mike working too hard, I get anxious thinking maybe this child will die from illness too. Because he's gotten thinner than before, and sometimes he looks tired from work. I had the image that the chairman might get fat since he does a lot of business entertainment, but Mike was thin. Come to think of it, I think he lost a bit of weight compared to before. The chairman said it was just summer fatigue, but I thought it was worrying. If something happened to Mike, Theodore's heart might really break. So I thought Mike should really take care of his health. It's okay. I'm watching over Mike. Really? Yes. I'm keeping an eye on him properly. That's good. This guy has been a picky eater since he was little, so please take care of him. Hey, don't treat me like a kid. I'm a respectable, middle-aged man now. You'll always be my child. That's why I worry. I thought it was heartwarming. To Theodore, the chairman will always be his child. They say children are always children, but it's really true. Mike looked a bit embarrassed, but he didn't seem to mind being worried about. The barbecue party at Mike's house ended on a fun note. Theodore calmed down too and seemed to enjoy it, which was great. One time, I was working as usual, but I saw the chairman standing stock still in the hallway with a pale face, so I decided to ask what happened. Then I found out Theodore had been taken to the hospital. Theodore was already in his 80s, so it wouldn't be surprising if he got sick any time. He seemed fine until this morning, but around noon Theodore apparently started complaining of chest pain, and he collapsed. So it seems his wife and Olivia called an ambulance. Then he was taken to the hospital. The chairman left work and rushed to the hospital. I couldn't think of him as a stranger anymore either, so I got ready to go to the hospital after finishing work. I arrived at the hospital and caught my breath. His wife and Olivia were in the hospital room. The chairman had apparently already left. Well, he's a very busy person, so he probably left after confirming Theodore was okay. Theodore was connected to N4 and such, but he was sitting up and conscious. And he looked at me and called my name. Jack, I was about to cross the river Styx, but I was able to come back. You remembered my name. Thank you. Yes, I remembered. You're Jack, who treated me to a meal at Subway, right? I met some people at the River Styx. Huh? Who did you meet? Brian and Brianna, who passed away. Is that so? They both said I can't come over there yet. I'm going to have a great-grandchild soon. So they probably told me I have to live until that great-grandchild is born. Apparently one of the former foster children is going to have a baby. In other words, Theodore's great-grandchild. Theodore cried, saying Brian and Brianna told him he has to live healthily until then. I thought it'd be fine if this old geezer died any time, but I want to live after all. If possible, I want to live much longer and watch over everyone. That's right. They're your precious children after all. How is Mike doing? Looks like he got thinner again. Seems to be just summer fatigue. So I don't think you need to worry. Is that so? That's good then. No matter what Mike says, I can't help but worry. Out of the children, he seems the busiest, so I think he might ruin his health. I understand in my head that he's not a child anymore, but to me, he'll always be a child. Theodore said that with a laugh. I thought, he really cherishes his children. Even so, taking care of so many children until now is really amazing. He has biological children too, so he must really love kids to take in foster children. Otherwise, you couldn't go through the trouble, I thought. Then Theodore was discharged from the hospital. Everyone threw a party to celebrate Theodore's discharge. The former foster children brought Theodore's favorite foods and gave him presents. I was invited to that party too, so I went. But I felt like Theodore's dementia was progressing a bit more slowly than before. But Olivia said he still occasionally says and does strange things, so I thought it probably won't get better from here. All humans get old eventually. Someday you might even forget your loved ones. But you probably won't forget the children you cherished more than your own life. I don't have children yet, but if I do have a child, I felt I'd probably think of them until the end. I feel like I learned that depth of love from Theodore. Company A, where I used to work, seems to have gradually worsened in management after the deal was cancelled. Company A was running things their way, but it seems everyone thought it was stupid to listen to the CEO, Davis, so they apparently decided to quit. And so the employees left. Management worsened, and it finally went under. On the other hand, Company B is doing well. Not only are the chairman, CEO, and executives all great people, there's an easy-to-work environment. I think work is important, but I want to put more importance on caring for others. As they say, do good for others. It will come back to you in unexpected ways.